And welcome to day 2 of this congressional stalemate. Right now, Kevin McCarthy seems to be further away from becoming House Speaker than he was at the same time yesterday. Hello, I'm John Bachman.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bianca De La Garza. So glad you're with us. The 4th round of votes is about to begin right now, actually.
Yeah, we see Elise Stefanik there. She was the one who nominated Kevin McCarthy officially yesterday. He did fail to get the votes he needs in the first 3 rounds, the first 3 ballots. Of course, this is the first time in 100 years the speakership was not decided on that first ballot.
Today, former President Trump also weighed in on the Republican infighting, saying it's now time for all of our great Republican House members to vote for Kevin. Don't turn a great triumph into a giant and embarrassing defeat, he writes on Truth Social. Take a look. These are the Republicans who voted against Kevin McCarthy yesterday, 20 GOP members in total. After Florida Representative Byron Donalds, he changed his vote in that 3rd round there. Now, after McCarthy's bid fell short, McCarthy was asked if he would drop out of the race for Speaker. Listen to what he had to say.
I'm not going anywhere. We have worked for a long time. I've been leader for 4 years. I came into this position and we had less than 200 members. We are now sitting in the majority. We put forth to the American public a commitment to America.
Congressional correspondent Kilmeny Dukart following the very latest. She's live on Capitol Hill and joins us right now, watching all of the action there. Kilmeny.
Yeah, Bianca, John, good to be with you. In aides that I've been speaking with this morning, it looks like we may be in for a repeat performance of yesterday. You know, we thought we would be in for a divided Congress, the fact that the House and the Senate are split, but really what we're seeing is a divided caucus. Now, we know that late last night, Kevin McCarthy had enlisted members of his own party to facilitate negotiations with those members who had voted against him. We spoke with Congresswoman Lauren Boebert's press secretary earlier this morning, who said there is little to no change, doesn't believe there will be any difference in the result or the outcome of the potential votes that come out today. He says that there has not been meaningful negotiations. Now, again, what we're talking about is 10% of the Republican conference. And I had spoken with one of the newly elected members of Congress, Republican Georgia Congressman Rich McCormick, earlier this morning about what his message would be to his colleagues on the other side of the aisle who continue to oppose McCarthy. Here's what he told me.
I wish people could watch the dialogue behind the scenes. It's not as divisive as it comes across on TV. I think there's a lot of listening going on, not just a lot of talking. And I think there's been concessions on both sides. And if we can continue to move forward and realize that we all have something to accomplish here, I think people are listening. I think McCarthy's trying to come to the table and trying to figure out what does it take to get across the finish line. I think there's a lot of tolerance inside the party for each other. I think that needs to grow even more. We're one church of many parts.
Bianca, John, I don't think that there has been enough that has happened between last night and this morning that will move the needle in terms of the vote on the House floor this morning. You know, there have been rumors that some of those who had opposed McCarthy in those votes would be potentially for Hakeem Jeffries. I was told again by Congresswoman Boebert's press secretary that that was absolutely false, that in her case, at least that was true, that she would not be voting for Hakeem Jeffries, who has received quite a large number of votes again, but that's coming from his caucus. There's been a lot of rumors this morning that they could adjourn and move into a recess while the Republicans try to continue to figure this out. And then there's also the possibility that this will continue to go vote after vote after vote like we saw yesterday. In terms of the votes that went for Congressman Jim Jordan, he was speaking to reporters earlier this morning. He said he's not interested in the job. His interest is being the chair of the Judiciary Committee and questioning witnesses on oversight. That's where he says his focus is.
All right, Kilmeny Dukart, keep us posted on what you're hearing. We'll be checking back with you on the Capitol Rotunda there. Thank you.
All right, joining us now for more on this is former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum, senior advisor for the Convention of States and a Newsmax contributor. Senator, great to have you with us. And just so everyone knows, on the right-hand side of the screen here, this is a live feed from the House floor. Things are getting started there. Great to have you with us, Senator. First, let's focus on whatever movement we may or may not see today. Let's start with Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. He was the first person to change his vote from McCarthy to Jim Jordan on that third round. And he talked about why he switched his vote. Here he is earlier on CNN.
What I'm going to do right now is vote for who I think is in the best interest of the conference. My vote yesterday was basically to break a deadlock because we were deadlocked and we were not getting anywhere. Right now, he doesn't have a pathway to get there. Is that reemerges? Yeah, I can be there. That's fine. But what is necessary now is that Republicans come together and find a way to elect a speaker. We're going to do that.
Well, it still seems like we're in a deadlock, a stalemate type situation. You know, but the thing here is, you know, guys like Congressman Donalds, they're on one side of this, but there are 202 other members of the House who are supporting McCarthy. So, you know, that's kind of where things settle down. We also heard from Rich McCormick there, a new member of the Congress. He is saying that it's not as divisive as it's being made out to be, but I'm hearing something much different, that it's very personal, Senator, and that the real issue here is Kevin McCarthy. These guys will just not move with Kevin McCarthy. It's not about the issues. It's not about the concessions. It's personal, and it's about Kevin McCarthy.
I think everything you just said is true. It doesn't sound like there are listeners that can all be true at the same time, but they are. I think you have a group of folks, I think primarily the five, at least four of the five, in my opinion, that are dead set against Kevin McCarthy, and it is more personal. I think the rest are more issues-based. I don't think it's. I mean, you have some new members, for example, that Kevin McCarthy helped get elected. They're not against Kevin McCarthy. They're trying to reflect what is the sentiment out there that, you know, things need to be shaken up in Washington and we need to do things differently. And I think there's a whole group of that 20 that are just looking for concessions and rules or other types of changes. And I know McCarthy is meeting with them. They're working through it. I think the interview you just played with McCormick just shows that there are a lot of folks a little nervous about being in this position. So I think there's still a dynamism playing out. And the real issue here is how long Kevin McCarthy holds on. And
right.
And I think you have a situation where you have 200 plus members, most of whom, not all of whom, but most of the vast majority are solidly for him. So I think this could last again through the day. I'm not sure we're going to see a resolution today. I think you'll wait and see. The next thing you want to see is, are there more than 20? This next vote, if it's 21 or 22 or 23, then that shows that there's weakening. If it's 19 or 18 or 17, that shows there's weakening. If it stays the same, then I think we're just going to be in a stalemate for a while, because I don't think either side feels like they need to give any ground at this point.
Clearly from, McCarthy's comment last night saying he won't, but even if he would, he probably wouldn't say that at this moment, as you point out.
No.
We're watching this vote, and we'll be watching it unfold here live, real time, in just a few minutes, Senator Santorum. It is a historic day, and, you know, when we talked about this stalemate, so at some point there's got to be an end game. Andy Biggs tweeting this. I want to share this with you as some of the, reactions come in. Of course, he was, put up as a speaker candidate yesterday, got some votes, but he says 3 ballots, 3 losses for McCarthy. He is obstructing Congress from getting its legislative work done. Some can say these folks are the ones obstructing, but they've dug their heels in. For what reason do you think they have chosen this moment, be it personal or be it on the fact that they are not getting the concessions they want?
It's a mixed bag. I think some see this as an opportunity to create their own personal little power base. I mean, there's no question in my mind that there are members there who see this as an opportunity to get media attention, to attract money, to attract support, to attract notoriety. And in a world today where fame is the coin of the realm, I'm not surprised that some of these members are using the opportunity they have to promote themselves. I mean, you can't ignore the fact that some of this is self-promotion. We are in the era of Trump, and he used it very, very well to elevate himself to the stature he's in right now. I think others are trying to follow suit. So the idea that Kevin McCarthy lost 3 votes because of him and a handful of others is that he needs to step down when 90% of the caucus is with him, is try to turn things around in its head a little bit. I'm not sure. I know Andy, I like Andy, but I'm not buying that one.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting here, the strange bedfellows that we have. I mean, you mentioned President Trump. You've got President Trump on the same team with Marjorie Taylor Greene and a lot of other more more establishment type characters. And you also have the New York Post, which has been very critical of Donald Trump, on the same side as him on this one, calling on these 20 defectors to grow up, stop this madness, and go after Biden. But, whether it's Donald Trump or the New York Post, that message isn't getting out there. We just heard Matt Gaetz today call Donald Trump's truth about the support for Kevin McCarthy sad. And so the question is, what is going to change anyone's mind? You know, how does that change? What takes place behind the scenes that actually moves people's votes?
Yeah, it's going to be a long I think this is going to be a long process. I think you're going to see negotiations now that all 20 members have sort of put their must-haves out there on the table, and it's now public as to what they want. I think you're seeing people. You're going to see again this vote that's going to take place. You're going to see if there's any movement. My guess is there won't be much of any. And as a result, it's going to be back to the table to try to pick off members, negotiate with groups of members to see if there's an accommodation that can be made. As long as Kevin stays firm, I think it's a matter of a battle of attrition, and it could take days and maybe even longer. But I get the impression that the caucus is basically saying, look, if we give in here, no matter who is elected speaker, we'll have an ungovernable majority.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody's worried about, is that, okay, we'll give in on this one. Well, this is just the first of many votes to come and of many even more important issues than this. And they won't have a governing majority. They'll have 5 or 6 people wagging the dog. And as a result, I think that's why you're seeing so many people stand firm.
Yeah, this is just maybe a precursor of what's to come. It's like one of those contests when all you have to do is keep your hand on the car to win. Whoever takes their hand off last. I mean, but what do you actually, you know, to what the senator was saying, what do they actually win? Whether it's Steve Scalise or whether it's Kevin McCarthy or Jim Jordan or anybody else, there are going to be 5 members of the House who can basically just blow up whatever progress they're working on.
John, you make a brilliant point there. The reason nobody else is jumping up saying, vote for me, Jim Jordan or Steve, is because they realize this is a very tough job that whoever ends up with it. In some respects, the die has been cast. The 5 folks and the folks who have been around have won. They have won in showing that this is going to be a majority that is not going to be a functional one. And McCarthy is stepping forward and saying, I'm willing to govern with this. No one else wants this job right now because no one else wants to deal with the dysfunction that's in the Republican Party right now. So that's why I think one of the other reasons you're seeing this McCarthy hold on is because there's no alternative. And as long as there's no alternative, nobody else wants to step up and say, I'll do this, then everyone's going to pretty much stand firm.
Yeah. We will be watching. We're waiting for I think the first quorum vote's about to take place, and then we'll have a roll call vote for the 4th ballot for House Speaker.
Fourth of many more to come, I suspect.
Yeah. 4 and counting. Great to see you, Senator Santorum.
Thank you, Senator.
We'll check back with you, too, if anything major develops.
Thank you so much.
No crooked establishment.
None of that twisting the
truth.
No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let me decide.
Newsmax.
Real news
For real people.